Hi BookTube, Aaron here, hope you're doing okay. Welcome to the second part of my library tour for 2022. So the first part was just a bit of an overview, showing you where everything is, how things are sort of organised. And today I'm actually going to get into it and actually go through some of the books and show you, a little more detail. I'm going to start off at the top here. I'm going to run through to about here. So just over 1.5 of these little boxes, and I don't really want to do any more than that, maybe 2 boxes at a push per video, just so that I'm not going through too many books at once, and I can feel confident about stopping and talking about a book if I feel like it. And with a lot of these actually, over here, these more decorative books, like quite a few of them were like bought for us from friends, like mainly to be decoration. So there are some that I don't really have anything to say about, but there are some fun ones in there as well. So we'll see how it goes. So we start off with some Jane Austen, which is always a good way to start. We've got so it's 3 novels. So in here we just have Emma, and I think this is from the 1920s. This edition, it says somewhere. 1927. It's got a nice little illustration there at the beginning, and I'm not sure, there might be there are illustrations throughout as well, which is pretty charming. And then this one is this is Northanger Abbey and Persuasion in 1 volume, if you can see it. Let's see if we can get to there we go. And this is probably a bit more recent. It's Collins, but a nice picture of Jane there as well. And then moving on, this is I suppose a travel book by George Barrow called Wild Wales, and it's just from the early 1900s going through things that you're able to do in Wales. And this is a very lovely sort of frontispiece there, very arts and craft, and that's probably the coolest thing about it. And then moving on, these are not for reading, they're sort of more sentimental. This is so The Count of Monte Cristo in 2 volumes by Alexandre Dumas, and these books were my wife's grandmother's, so they're a bit frail, so they're not really for reading, but it's nice to have them around. And then a few more that actually no, this one probably has been read a fair bit, not by myself, probably by my wife. This is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell, just a nice sort of pocket hardback. And then here are some that don't really get read too much. I say too much at all. So there's Dream Days by Kenneth Grahame, which does have it's a nice spine there. I'm trying to think, is it one with a nice? No, not really. It's a bit boring inside, to be honest. And then we've got Goodbye, Mr. Chips by James Hilton, which again is it's got its kind of charm to it. And then this is Kilvert's Diary, 1870 to 1879. So I suppose this is, I can only guess, like a politician's diaries from the selections from the diary of the Reverend Francis Kilvert, and I don't really know too much about him, but it's a very pretty little book. I think that's very very classy there on the front. This is one I can talk a little bit about. This is Tales of Mystery and Imagination by Edgar Allan Poe. And this is like the first, it's pretty battered. It's like the first old book that I ever bought when I was about, 16, 17, something like that. I can remember it was in on the Isle of Wight in a charity shop, and I saw this and wanted something to read. And I read the Gold Bug, sat on the beach, and yeah, it was great. So I haven't read too much Edgar Allan Poe. I've read some of the greatest hits, but yeah, most of the greatest hits are in here, I guess. The only downside is that the print is really, really small, but it still has that kind of sentimental value to it, and I can remember exactly where I was when I bought it, and it felt really exciting, to actually buy an old book as well. It seemed pretty cool, yeah. And then here are some that, again, my wife has probably used for reading a fair bit, and they do look pretty cool together. So we've got Villette by Charlotte Bronte. We've got Cranford again by Elizabeth Gaskell. And we've got The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins. I think these are Heron classics or something like that. Yeah, there we go. They're done by Heron Books. Yeah, they're pretty good, and they've got a nice sort of leathery or faux leather kind of texture to them. They're kind of, I don't know, bouncy. But yeah, they're very, very posh looking, and they look good as a set. Then another one I haven't really touched. It's just another one of these decorative ones. This is the Creevely Papers. I think this is another sort of yeah, there we go. Oh, so this is actually a Folio Society book. So this is it Thomas Creevely? Yeah, Thomas Creevely, and yeah, it's got some. It does look pretty cool, but I again don't know really anything about this figure. Then moving on, this is a I think this is like a Reader's Digest kind of thing. Nope, again it's it's not Reader's Digest, but it's The Great Gatsby and The Last Tycoon together in one volume, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I've only read The Great Gatsby. I haven't read The Last Tycoon. But yeah, I like Gatsby, and it's to say I was taking this like on public transport and stuff with me when I was reading it. It's actually held up pretty well and hasn't fallen apart, which is pretty impressive. Yeah, it's a nice, sturdy, readable book. Then we've got Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. Again, it's kind of, sort of very much matching The Great Gatsby there. And I read this for the first time about a year or so ago. There's Jerome there. Yeah, it's really, really fun. It's got all the sort of illustrations in there and everything. And yeah, it's a really fun sort of romp of a book. Then we've got Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy. I've read this and really enjoyed it, but not this edition. And then matching that, this is The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain. And again, this is one where I can remember where I was when I bought it, or I should say when my dad bought it for me, because I was a kid and we were camping and I hadn't brought anything to read, and this came free with a newspaper. So yeah, it was a lovely little holiday reading Mark Twain. And then we've got a small little pocket edition of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, which I'm ashamed to say I've never read The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, so I need to get around to that at some point. And then second to last here, we've got a nice folio Society edition of The Monk by Matthew Lewis, and I'll make Mark from Book Time with Elvis nice and happy and kind of show it off to him. So yeah, so it's got these really cool illustrations in there, sort of woodcut style illustrations. We've got a creepy little rosary there, and then this is the title page there. Yeah, it really goes with the flavour of the book, the kind of creepy, gothic style. I don't know, there's kind of a weird, surreal kind of, I don't know how to explain it. The style, it's not quite full on medieval. There's a kind of freshness to it. I do quite like it. Kind of makes it feel a bit more like a fever dream as you flick through. So yeah, again, this is one that I've read before, but not in this edition. And I want to get to it as soon as I can to reread, because I think I really enjoy reading it in this edition. Let's see if I can find another illustration just to show off. Let's have a look. Bear with. Oh, there we go. That's a nice creepy one there. So yeah, it's all sort of nice black and white woodcuts, illustrations, and yeah, really looking forward to making my way through it. If you're ever in the north of England, I think, where was it? I was going through some bookshops. It was in Carlisle. There's a big second-hand bookshop in Carlisle, and there must have been 3 or 4 identical editions to this in there. So if you want to grab a copy, and you're ever in Carlisle, of all places, that's a place to check it out. And then probably the last one for today, it's kind of shares a colour scheme almost with the Penguin Classics, which is why it's there. And it's The Complete Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. So this has got Little Women, Good Wives, what's next? Oh, Little Men and Joe's Boys. I always forget which order they go in. And yeah, all together in a nice sort of chunky paperback. There we go. And it's yeah, there's Louisa on the back there, and it's yeah, it's quite small font, but it's, you know, they're all there together. It's got the nice illustrations at the beginning of each chapter, and I quite enjoyed Little Women. I think it's the kind of episodic fiction where I couldn't read too much of it in one go, but yeah, every now and then it's like literary chicken soup. It's just you need it every now and then. But there we go. I'll leave it there for today, and then we'll I don't know. I'll finish off this top shelf and jump into some Penguin Classics. But then after that, I feel like not necessarily going in a linear. Yeah, not doing this in a linear kind of way, but I might just jump randomly into another bookshelf. We'll see how it goes. But that's that for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.